Path of Exile 322 is right around the corner, and I realized it's time for me to give y'all an update on what my actual plans are. I've talked a lot about some of the things, what's got me interested, what I'm thinking about, some of my feelings and ideas. Right, you guys have to see my Atlas strategy plans and all sorts of stuff, but I haven't really talked about what I'm actually doing this league. So let's get into that. Right, the core of the idea is let me tell an ancient story, right? So I've been playing PoE since 3.6. Yeah, it's 3.6. Wow, it's already been that long. Synthesis League is when I started. Loved the league, everything. Played for about a year until the first BPL, Badger's Private League. Back when it was just a small little thing that he was doing for fun. And I met a group. I got a group of homies in my first team, and well, I've been playing with that group pretty much ever since. We've grown and added new members over the course of more BPLs and whatnot, but we've been playing together for a long time. And one of my best friends, as a part of that group, he part of that group. We basically made the group, right? We've been wanting to play together forever, like actually play together, not just multiple homies in a call playing PoE at the same time, but actually playing the game as friends. So talked about the ideas in the past, but as the idea got too large, I always bowed out for technical reasons, actually. Partially because like large group play just isn't my thing, but also because I used to play on a laptop back then. I don't know if you ever played PoE on a laptop. You will torch your computer trying to do 6-man group play. So it never really stuck for us. But I started streaming and everything because I finally got a rig this year. And so, alongside that, the opportunity to finally play with my homie after all these years, like I said, this first BPL was back in Delirium. It's been over 3 years since we met and have been talking about this idea forever. We just never got the opportunity to do it. And Child of the Ancestors, this is the league we're going to finally do it. So, surprise, that's the whole thing. I'm going to be doing a duo start with my homie this league, but that's not all. I have plans for afterwards, right? We don't really know when we're going to stop doing group play so much as we have like a rough idea mentally. But more importantly is like I can now talk more about how that affected what I plan on doing for League Start, how that facilitates some of the research that I wanted to do with this League Start, and then how we're going to pivot forward into the rest of the league for that and what that looks like for this channel as I start to produce content over here based on what we do in the league, as well as what that'll end up looking like for my streams, right? So let's get into all that. Starting out with the obvious, my build. So, in traditional pair play, quite frankly, you could do almost anything with an aura bot. Like I put some additional restrictions on myself just because of like making sure that I was utilizing the aura bot as fully as I thought necessary. Like for example, as much as I'm a huge dot build enthusiast right now, dot builds are not my favorite use of supports. It's really difficult to find ones that actually scale with support like that. Although melee ignite actually would have been a really good candidate, I just think that like it's too easy to use a support to hit the damage over time cap and then suddenly like I mean he'll provide a lot of defenses at that point, but it just feels kind of like a waste. Maybe I could use it to push some absurd amount of damage for like sadism or something, but like this idea I had already landed on this build before, seeing what sadism really did and what it did numerically and stuff. So the idea, it's not really my idea. If you've ever seen Snap's videos, Snap is one of the core members of MP's group. He posted his video and I stole the goods. But I modified it because his was a spark carry and there are some choices in the process that I don't particularly agree with. Sorry, that was like a little like gnat on my wall. It's really pissing me off. He had some things going. This was originally a Spark PLB. I've turned it into Stormcall. I am a huge fan of Stormcall. It is one of my favorite skills of all time, and it fits best into my strategy for this league. As good of a skill as Spark is for big mapping strategies, our strategy is not as map dependent, and therefore I needed a skill with a little bit more single target focus. Stormcall is a phenomenal skill for this, by the way. One of my favorite skills in the game. Very fun animation, cool to scale, gets really pretty with large AoE. I could go on and on forever about how much I love Stormcall as a skill. But, so that's the core of the idea. Storm Call time. Same idea as a traditional carry support comp or carry for this. Trickster because it, polymath, and if I wanted to scale harder, Prevention, Flesh, and Flame for Deadly Infusion, then, being pretty hard to kill with a Soul Drinker and Escape Artist, one step ahead, always just feels good. And this is a very, very damage heavy tree, right? Because we're a carry. The R bot is doing all of the work, or the vast majority of the work, rather, I should say. As you can see here, the R bot's doing a lot of the work. That is the game plan. You're gonna play Stormcall because it's better single target and actually multi-target DPS as well, as we'll talk about. That's actually really important to the strategy as well. But as I want you to see, this is the idea that we're gonna go with. I'm gonna level it as a. I'm gonna level, so Storm Blast, Ooze Blast up to 28. Switch to Arma Crema. Get to maps, and sometime in maps, I'm going to switch over to either Spark or Stormcall, whichever one I think feels a little bit stronger at the moment, and then look to pivot closer and closer to full Stormcall by the time that we are like done with the initial Atlas progression, so that we can get into the strategy, but with the right build. Now, let's talk the strategy, because I don't think the build is that fascinating. Quite frankly, I've never found these like super juiced carry characters to be fascinating to look at. It's literally click as many damage as you can, take some survivability, because this is a duo setup, so I still need to be able to support us a little bit and whatnot. Like, I'm carrying our purity and things like that for a good reason. All the conversion scaling, it's all mechanics that I feel like if you've been around in the carry support scene, you've seen quite a few times. But if you haven't seen it before, the core idea is that you play a lightning converted spell, so that you can use double nebulous. And you use your support to get to or as close to 90 all res as possible. Then by combining the 90 all res with the nebulous, you'll get a ton of percent damage. And then you're thinking, well, that says increased cold damage. I said lightning spell. That's why we use double call of the Brotherhood. 96% of our damage gets converted over, which means 96% of our damage is scaling off of both percentage lines on nebulous. And that's where the real core of the scaling comes from. Then you add in stuff like Incandescent Heart, and really just kick it up a notch. And there's all sorts of like ridiculous scaling details in here and whatnot. The biggest things of note in here that I did think was very interesting is I need to replace this Voidwalker. I can't believe I forgot to replace this when I was making the POB, or stealing the POB, modifying it a little bit. But bigger than that, Abhorrent Interrogation is a really cool tech for situations where you want to not depend or ignore aliases because of a strong curse bot. I might still use this setup anyways because of this mastery. Using the elemental mastery that gives me let's just invert reses instead of having to pen or ignore them or anything. I don't have to worry about like the potential of curses. There's no curse in this POB. You'll see here in the debuff section, you don't see a curse, you just see wither. And that's why we're just going to use Abhorrent Interrogation, because it is a lot of damage, right? Wither stacks up to 15. If you have 15 stacks of wither on a target, they are taking that 6% increase. However, this is PLB is with 5. I think I can reasonably get it further, especially through the use of Withering Step. Fun fact for playing with Withering Step, by the way. Base Withering Step is 6. Level 20, it's 6. Level 21, you get 7 debuffs, and then if you use Anomalous, you get another 2. And you can go even further with this if you get yourself an Ashes, or another way to really scale the quality. Enhance also works. But we can apply a lot of debuffs very quickly, and that'll let me get some quick burst damage out on targets. And so that's like the core of the idea. And then there's a full R-Bot POB that's meant to carry all the other weight. But I'm not going to talk too much about that build, because again, the build's not really that important, because this is just the start. Is this expensive? Obviously, yes. But like, that's the fun of playing with a duo. We'll talk more about that part in the plans afterwards, though. So after talking about this, it's important now to talk about the actual plan. Here's the meat and potatoes. Here's the part that I think is actually a lot more fun to look at. Where is one of these trees? Is not the right tree. Either way, here's the core of the idea. This tree. We have a wandering path tree that matches up to this as we use it for the progression portion and then the early on map sustaining portion of our plan, but the core of our plan really comes from this mangled monstrosity, and I'm going to try to explain it to you as efficiently as possible. There's some testing that's necessary to do with this to see if it works, and as a part of the content I'll be making afterwards, or if you're on the stream, you'll see it live. You'll see like how well this idea did or didn't pan out, right? So, one, destructive play was added this league. This keystone is the core of the idea. When I saw destructive play, I immediately knew what I wanted to do this league. Whether it be solo, whether it be with my homie, whether it be whatever, I was going to play with destructive play. I love the idea of Maven Witness finally being a competitive option instead of permanently being stuck doing Exarch influence forever. Because it was, I'm not gonna lie, the way that the altars really impact your builds was starting to get it was starting to get a little grating. I was, it's been about a year of actually a little over a year of just nothing but Exarch influence or maybe Eater influence when that was a little bit more busted, and I needed something new. Here's something new. So, destructive play. Couple pieces to this all together. So me and my homie, we've dubbed our strat the Meta Maven strat, and it's because we're combining Maven Witnesses with Metamorph. You'll notice there's a lot of Metamorph investment, and the core of the idea is this: destructive play spawns additional map bosses. If this works the way that we're hoping, that means that all of those map bosses will also come with Metamorph organs. You're going to get the City Square-esque effect on more maps than just City Square. Which, when you pair with a Gilded Scarab and all of these nodes on tree, like, I mean, these nodes are, like, the nodes for Metamorph are really good if you haven't known, right? Like, additional catalysts for unique samples. Again, we need those unique bosses. Chance to reward dupe, making it not kill us. All these are great. Combining these together means that we would actually get a really profitable strategy out of Metamorph, because I already found Metamorph to be very profitable in just like a polished Scarab on City Square environment with the Sextant. And I tested some more off stream later on with Gildeds and was actually extremely pleasantly surprised with what I saw. So we're going to take this to the next level as a league start strategy to become not only an early league catalyst supplier, but the raw currency created, the rarer items created because of the sheer volume of rarity and quant on the boss, on the Metamorph, as well as, again, playing to the witnesses, right? We're witnessing bosses, we're doing invitations, we're creating woke gems. Like, that's where the value in this strategy really starts to kick in. We're looking for some of those fixed drop value items as opposed to like magic finding or something. And then we just added some more stuff in here to make that like value really get exacerbated, right? So you can never really go wrong with chance to drop Guardians and Conqueror maps. Unfortunately, our original plan for having these nodes was, more final map bosses. That sounds awesome for Remnants of the Past and Conquerors. However, they've confirmed since then, or they actually just changed in the patch notes to make these notables just chance to drop after completing the map instead of each of the map bosses. So you don't get to do that shenanigans or the Sextant, which is pretty sad. But, we tried. Still good nodes. It just adds to the value because the strategy at its core is a boss rushing strategy. We're going to go, it's take bosses, get witnesses, hit 10 ways, all that good stuff. Run or sell Mavens, all of that. Then we took Delirium because of the new mirror thing. If we put the mirror on the device, or if we get the mirror via Sextant, this is just a way to do good deli without needing to use an orb, which I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but I like the idea of generating clusters in particular. You generate more clusters from mirrors and you generate other things from orbs. So this has potential to get, and there's something added here. Delirious unique monsters drop an additional jewel or orb. This applies to map bosses and Metamorphs as well. So we're just really like trying to dig deep on this idea. Then on top of that, we added Bestiary because we needed a master to do something with. And it gives us another Scarab slot fill. Bestiary Scarabs tend to not be super expensive after like the third or fourth day. And realistically, even at the prices that I've seen for them, sometimes they're super worth it anyways. Then, additionally, there is, where is it at? Oh, right, and we have this Essence node. And it's only one Essence node, because we're going to try out overloaded at the start. We're going to try out overloaded circuits with the essence on the device. So 4 chaos for 2 essences instead of only 2. But in exchange, we save a lot of points on having to travel around and pick up crystal lattice, crystal resonance, prolific essence. Right? We don't have to pick those up anymore, and so therefore we save some points and got to do a lot more with it. If this turns out to be unfavorable, we will unspec overloaded circuits and either unspec out of essence entirely or just spec essence at the cost of something else. I have a tree that adjusts for this as well with some different pathing instead of thinking about greeting for a little bit of heist points. The other piece here, of course, is where is it at? Oh, right. All hands. Our last little bit is I'm taking all hands on this tree because all hands plays well both into how I play the game, but also what I want from the strategy. We're not relying on master missions in the strategy. We're going to be using sextants, or not sextants, scarabs to get into bestiary. So randomly spawned missions are just not like the worst thing in the world. We could just take this plus increase the chance of getting more random Einhars. As a way to pad out our currency, fish for some decent beasts. And that's why we have the best theory nodes here and here, as well as over here, right? Just good best theory nodes. And that's the idea. We're just looking for things that make our maps strong as we blitz through them, good linear layouts. That's kind of that's the strategy. That's the core of what we're doing. That's kind of the plan. That's what we want to do to make money and to test out this new idea because we finally have a new strategy on the block. Could actually be competitive. So, we'll keep you posted on that, right? Now, back to me, right? Let's talk a little bit, right? First off, I just want to give you guys a great thanks for even watching this video, quite frankly, as I pursue this dream of mine. It's been a long-term dream of mine, but I never, I'll be real, I never had the balls to chase it. I never really had the balls to just put some money up to get, a PC that could handle the gaming that I needed to do and really put effort behind it. And so thank you all, both you guys, and I say this to my Twitch, I was thank you all for giving me the opportunity to giving me support as I, consider this as a more and more serious thing. And that's going to continue because it's a new league. I want to create new content. As we go through this. So talking about the rest of the league, and then we're going to do a bit of a back and forth on things that I want to do, how that ties in content wise. So things that I want to do in this league, I want to do this duo start with my homie, do this metamorph plus Maven strat, this kind of boss rush-esque type thing that we've got going on, and talk to you guys about that strategy. And I think that's probably why I'm kind of okay with the duo start as well, because the focus isn't going to be on is my build the thing that's to talk about. No, I want to talk about the strategy. I'm much more fascinated by strategy and theory crafting and whatnot, and I have the opportunity to take a new Atlas strategy and really push it to the next level, which is good because builds haven't really been getting pushed to the next level for a while outside of stuff if you've been on my streams, you see me talking about Melee Ignite a good bit recently. When I do play that, I'll talk about it here as well. So after group play, after we do this testing, and something that I didn't mention in the testing is that we'll probably try out the league mechanic as well, just to see if we think it's worth pivoting to. As an out of map mechanic, there's a good chance that we just farm and sell the silver coins, or just keep them around for when we want to play around with the content later. Who knows? We haven't really talked about that part yet. But we're both curious people, but it just doesn't line up exactly with what we're currently doing. Now, afterwards, I want to deep dive into the league mechanic. I really do, just because new league mechanics are always possibilities for something fascinating to come up. Plus, I'll have to, see whatever new tech Grimro puts in this video and see if I think any of it's actually worth looking into or if they missed anything, right? It's always one of my favorite parts of the new league mechanic, and after the absolute stinker that Crucible was as an actual mechanic to play around with, I'm hoping that this one will feel a lot better to play in. Then, outside of that, builds, right? I do want to start talking a little bit more about builds and things of that nature, just as I figure it's kind of difficult for me because a lot of the stuff is rehash, right? We hadn't really gotten skill gem buffs, but the support buffs have opened up opportunities. And so my first reroll of the league is very, very likely to be a melee ignite character of some form, that I'll then talk about here. Then I will also maybe consider doing something with trauma. I haven't decided on that one yet. I'll probably play a bow character. I might revisit my bleed start that I did last league, but do it on the red ascendancy for a little bit more tanginess and stuff like that. Um, and as I figure out new stuff with builds, content will come over here. Additionally, I'm going to be trying out new strategies, right? We're not just gonna only be doing this meta Maven strat all league. You guys saw in the video with Atlas strategies that I was cooking up, I had a Vol side area strategy. I'm extremely interested in that strategy, by the way. Extremely fascinated by this idea. I really hope, by the way, if somebody out there like tries that strategy, please let me know. Like, let me know how that went for you, or if there's any tips that you would give about it, because I really want to dig into it and see if I can make it work. Because people told me last week when I was playing around with Metamorph that I'm crazy for even considering Metamorph as a real money-making opportunity, and it turned out to work out really well. So I really want the Vol side area stuff to also work. That's like one of the things I'm really curious about. Stuff like that, right? Try out some of the keystones. You know, we have that new Harvest keystone. That we don't really have the details of. I really hope that we have some details of that at some place I can play around with it a little bit. Maybe come up with some cool 7th gate tech. Who knows, right? Figure out what we're doing there, and alongside we'll still be playing new builds and whatnot, because yeah, I can't play the same character forever unless they're my impending doom Pathfinder from last week. That character felt incredible. I'm really sad that they nerfed it so heavily, but like, I understand. The character was good. The other part of that then is, so what does the content look like here? It means on League Start, you'll get some information. I can't promise, like, I'm not going to promise you like a daily uploader of any sort, right? I cannot make that promise at all. If you want regular content, you should stop by the stream, or at least at that frequency. But I want to at least, at the very least, have a check-in with you guys here on the channel on Sunday / maybe Sunday night, Monday morning, somewhere in there, right? Like, in that post 48-hour period, I want to have a check-in video made just to give you an idea of how the start went, how the strat seems to be panning out. I'll do a 1-week video to, you know, show some of the results of the strat, if I made any changes, things that I would do differently. That's kind of the core of that idea. And again, we're not really going to be talking much about the build because it's a carry build. Carry build's a carry build. There's nothing special there. Not for me anyways, right? There's better places to seek innovation for that. Now, after that, then we'll be doing videos as I talk about strats that I'm researching, whether it be on or off stream, or, you know, builds and concepts for like the Atlas tree or the League mechanic, whatever it may be. Anything that I find of like significant value where I would then think to go like knock down somebody's door, hey, you got to check this out. I'll post that here and we'll talk about it a little bit, just to do that. But if you want all of this at its best unadulterated form, you should come check me out when I'm live, right? I'll be live tomorrow starting at about 2 p.m. Central, so like an hour before the league starts, so that we can, you know, we can go through our league start jitters together and finish up the remaining of our prep and everything like that, and just banter around as we wait to get into the game. Then league start, I will be on pretty much all the way till I pass out. Which means, you know, probably no video immediately after, who knows. But like, I'll be on for a long time on league start. I'll be streaming again the day after league start as well. Small disclaimer, there is going to be a bit of an interruption in the stream where I'll still be streaming, but it'll be a different game just because of like commitments that overlap. For lack of better wording. Sunday we'll be back at it again, and then I'll return to my normal stream schedule on Monday, maybe a little bit later, figuring out how I want to schedule it out. But you know, as I said in the description, most nights if you check in, I'm streaming, and if I'm not streaming, come yell at me or come get at me on the Discord. Like, if you want to talk about something, if you have any questions about the strategies that I'm doing or any of the builds that I've talked about, or if you just want my general insight on things, check me out on Twitch, check me out on Discord, or come hang out in the Discord. I actually hang out in there. You can come talk to me like directly. I don't bite, I promise. Unless you like it that way, but like, keep that for the DMs. Now, all that said, I'm extremely excited for tomorrow. I haven't been this excited for a league start actually in a while, now that I think about it. Just, you know, getting to play with my friend finally. Finally having a new Atlas strategy that doesn't revolve around Eater or Exarch influence is just, oh, I'm so excited. You have no idea. Actually, I hope you have an idea, because if you don't have an idea, then I've done a terrible job here for really conveying how exciting this is for me. And most importantly, I mean, as always, I just love playing PoE. I love League Start, and this is my first League starting in trade, like actually starting in trade in like a year or so. I did the Zero to Hero reroll into trade last League, but I don't really count that in the same bubble, right? Dragging your way out the mud at the start of in the middle of a league just doesn't have the same feeling as being poor with everyone else and rising with your new strategy and new build, your new capabilities. So that's the exciting part that I'm really looking forward to. I look forward to talking with you guys about it, keeping you guys posted, and hopefully even see you guys in the stream, trading with you guys, whatever it may be, cook up some ideas, who knows what it may be. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.